Alrighty, now welcome everyone to another episode of the Leadership Standard. We are live, we are live, we are live. Just to confirm that we are live, we'll be making sure that our audio quality is going well and everything is perfect. So if you're just joining us, please kindly, inform everyone by sharing it, and commenting as we begin this journey of another episode of the Leadership Standard. Thank you all for joining. Thank you for being here and welcome. All right. So this is a day where we talk about the impact of corruption in the Nigerian economy. All right. For those who don't know, Nigerian economy has been going through its own particular impacts, whether it's by the effect of corruption or whether it's by the effect of poverty, whatever way you want to name it, there's just been a lot going on. And the people who have been suffering are the people who are citizens of that country called Nigeria. Most of them are unaware of what's going on. Some of them are aware of what's going on. By the end of the day, they have been unknown or willing participants of this corruption. So, having said that, I want to talk about some stories about showing the impact of corruption in the Nigerian economy. All right. So, this is one. So, first of all, is talking about how the Buhari government has failed to protect Nigerian civilians from armed terror groups and criminal security officials, Amnesty International report. For those who don't know, Amnesty International is a prominent international organization that talks about human rights abuses, all right, all around the world. So Amnesty International has said that the Nigerian government has failed to protect Nigerian civilians from armed terror groups, as well as from criminal security officials. Okay, so there's the armed terror groups, and there's also the criminal security officials. So this report said this has led to the killings, injury, and displacement of thousands of civilians across the country by Boko Haram insurgents, uh, Islamic State of West Africa. So as you can see, West African province, unknown gunmen, and even security officers. Amnesty International has stated in its 2022 report that President Muhammad Buhari-led government has failed to protect Nigerians from armed terror groups. The report said this led to the killing, injury, and displacement of thousands of civilians across the country by Boko Haram insurgents, bandits, Islamic State of West African province, unknown gunmen, and even security officers. All right. And if you must realize that this has been going on for quite a while now, most of these things have been increasing. Now, these are the kind of issues that Nigerians have to face with, right? They have to be worried about being displaced by Boko Haram insurgents, by bandits two, the Islamic State of West Africa three, unknown gunmen four, and even security officers five. So pretty much they have to deal with five situations, five critical things that can actually, kill them. All right. So the report also stated that the Nigerian government has consistently failed to punish and hold security officials accountable for crimes they've committed against civilians, adding that Nigerian security forces consistently violate human rights in the context of military operations. So you can see what's going on. So there have been crimes against humanity, crimes against civilians, even by security officers that have not been held accountable. And because of that, there have been human rights violations done by military operations. All right. So, according to Amnesty International, Boko Haram, ISWAP, and unknown gunmen have reportedly killed at least 6,907 people. They've abducted 6,157, and they forcibly internally displaced at least 2,000 people within the period under review. As you can see, this is really bad. 6,907 people have been killed, 6,157 people have been abducted, 2,000 people have been forcibly internally displaced. It's also stated there that at least more than 2.4 million internally displaced people in the northeastern region of the country. Noting that in an attempt to resettle all internally displaced people living in Maiduguri, the Borno state government closed four camps in July 2020 and resettled 11,000 households. But most of the resettled people lack sufficient food and access to basic amenities. The report said attacks by Boko Haram, which had been predominantly in the northeast, spread to some states in north central and northwestern Nigeria during the year. Attacks by Boko Haram directed against civilians, such as those targeting villagers, farming communities, and highway and train passengers, amounted to war crimes. You can see. So Boko Haram committing war crimes. But it's also this report is also saying that the Nigerian government has not been proactive enough in solving the problems of these attacks, whether it's by Boko Haram or whether it's even by officers of the Nigerian people, of Nigerian government. Of the hundreds of school children abducted by Boko Haram in previous years, 110 girls remain in captivity at the end of the year. On the operation of Nigerian security officials and the government's failure to hold them accountable for crimes against civilians, the Amnesty International report stated security forces consistently violated human rights in the context of military operations conducted against Boko Haram in northeast Nigeria. All right? They are violating human rights, pretending they are carrying military operations against Boko Haram. But in the same vein, they are violating human rights. Reuters also reported that the Nigerian military conducted a secret forced abortion program in the Northeast since 2013, ending at least 10,000 pregnancies without the consent or prior knowledge of the women and girls concerned, which could also amount to war crimes and crimes against humanity. Can you imagine that? So they are carrying out abortions too, secret abortions in Northeast of over 10,000 pregnancies. So because of these abortions, you obviously know that it comes with rape. And this Nigerian military has, they're so notorious for raping innocent women. The Nigerian authorities have consistently failed to hold security officers accountable for crimes committed against civilians. The report further noted that Nigerian security officials engaged in several torture and ill treatment, adding that security forces used excessive force to disperse protests, peaceful protests, and assemblies. It said Nigerian security forces have killed at least 122 people in response to increasing violence and killings of their officers in southeast Nigeria. 122 people. In July 17, at least 7 people were extrajudicially executed by state-sponsored Ebubeagu paramilitary agents in the town of Awo Omama, Imo State. Can you imagine? 7 people extrajudicially killed. Torture and ill treatment remain pervasive within the criminal justice system. At least 21 NSAS protesters were tortured while in detention. Imagine. At the Criminal Investigation Department, Umuahia, and in other police facilities, police officers tortured the arrested protesters by tying their hands to iron bars and flogging their ankles with rods. Can you imagine? Victims reported to Amnesty International that at least 2 protesters were tortured to death. So this is exactly how the Nigerian government is reacting to protesters, reacting to dissenting voices by literally torturing them and wanting to kill them. But it is sad that this is the approach that they are taking, because there's a lack of rule of law right now. It's a very sickening society, a society where a lot of people are just losing their minds and acting out of order, act irrationally, taking things, abusing power for their own personal gain and not trying to consider other people's benefits. We've seen all of these things happening so many times. But now let me share this story now. This is a story of a Nigerian government has had to tackle, they tackled the Buhari government for spending 12 billion on 10 fire trucks. 12 billion. How do you spend 12 billion? How do you spend 12 billion on just 10 fire trucks? Not like I say fire is not an important thing, but 12 billion? So the Nigerian Twitter people have come out now to say there is a problem somewhere. So, and this revelation about spending 12 billion was mentioned by the aviation minister, Hadi Sirika. 12 billion. He mentioned that the FAA and they've not bought fire trucks for the past 15 years. Okay, but because you just bought trucks for the past 15 years, you have to spend 12 billion for those trucks. So we're still expecting more trucks to come in due course, but 12 billion, you know, so that's just crazy. But I'm also looking at the exchange rate too, you know, which is about $675,000 maybe for one of these, equivalent to 311 million at the official exchange rate. Omoyole Sowore has criticized the minister and Mohamed Buhari's government for mismanaging public funds amidst debt deficits. So they bought one single fire engine for at least $2 million each. $2 million. And a lot of people are arguing that this could be used trucks, you know? So it's crazy. Because NYSC, their trucks cost $550,000 each. So how then are we spending $2.8 million for a truck, for a firefighting truck? This can show you the level of corruption and how corruption is killing Nigerians. But at the end of the day, they have to decide how they want to live their life. So this is another story again I want to share of how corruption is really affecting the lives of people. Look at this.
You can never have it right here. Now the Molore where they say they don't commission, might be this. Nigeria, you can never have it right here. They push Molore for up. So that's how the train gonna go for road. The zone all lights go finish. They'll call the pusher like this. My guy, this country now zero. Dead on arrival. So, now the Molore where
As you can see, that was a video of them pushing the train that they're meant to be using to be transporting people to go to their destination. Now people are the ones pushing the same train. That can show you how they are violating their own common sense. What you would consider common sense, they cannot even phantom it. Because how do you make common sense out of this? How do you even start thinking about all these things? How do you even come to rationalize these things? That a train will spoil in the middle of the rail tracks and people will be pushing the train, pushing it to get to their destination, rather than the train be the one taking them to their destination. That is the effect of corruption. If anybody wants to know what corruption is can cause, that is the effect. And at the end of the day, we have to decide, how do we want to continue? Do we want to continue like this? Do we want to continue like this? Is this how we want to keep living our lives? Will continue to be. Let's look at this story of how Nigeria's debt rose to 46 trillion. 46 trillion. How do we get to a debt of 46 trillion in Q4 of 2022? We had a debt now of 46 trillion naira. Nigeria Bureau of Statistics discloses on Friday. The report showed Nigeria's public debt stock grew by 4.96%. It said external debt stood at 18.7 trillion, while domestic debt was 27.5 trillion. That is about 61 billion. Imagine. $41 billion. So we are almost at a debt ratio right now of $86 billion. That's how bad we are right now. So however you want to look at this, it doesn't say well of our economy and how the GDP is growing. Because how are we at a debt of 46 trillion in just one quarter in 2022? Anyways, I want everyone to just understand that there's corruption and there is the corruption that kills and destroys lives of people. And what Nigeria is practicing is a corruption that is killing and destroying lives of people. And at the end of the day, the leaders are the ones that will be held responsible for why they cannot figure out a solution out of all of these problems. Thank you and have a great day. Welcome to the Leadership Standard. Please kindly subscribe and follow us for more updates.